Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori and this is Holy City Mystic. Thank you so much for being here. So today we are going to talk about Pluto when it is Cazimi, Combust, or under the beams in your birth chart. First of all, what is Pluto in the chart? So Pluto is like a very, very big generational planet. It is in a sign from 12 to 30 years at a time. So anyone born within this time frame is going to have Pluto in this sign. Now, Pluto is going to represent transformation of the qualities of that sign. So depending on the sign, you are going to have a different mission associated with it. So Pluto represents power, it represents deep psychology, it represents transformation, it represents wisdom, like hard-won wisdom. So you've been through so much that at this point you are at peace because all the transforming and all the changes you have made up until this point. So if Pluto is Cazimi in your birth chart, which is within 17 minutes or 1 degree, depending on your tradition, you are going to have Pluto and Pluto qualities as part of your life mission. So that can be the idea of always needing to go beneath the surface, always needing to know why, always needing to know the bottom of every single story and what is underneath the surface. It can also be this presence that you have, this embodiment of power. Not necessarily like power hungry or anything like that, but just this idea of knowing who is the most powerful person in the room. Sometimes that's you, sometimes that's somebody else, but being able to spot that idea of power and dominance very easily. Also, psychological transformation is going to be something that is always coming up for you. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to have horrific abuse in your childhood and then undergo terrible relationships and all this stuff that we kind of associate with psychological transformation. This could be something as simple as you grew up one way, you decided that didn't work for you anymore, and you found your own truth. Now, these journeys, just doing that, just breaking your own tradition, is going to have so much psychological depth. You also, on the other hand, might be the first example where you've undergone so much trauma and psychological distress in your lifetime that now you have this embedded wisdom within your soul. Now, when Pluto is under the beams in your birth chart, you have a harder time connecting to this story of transformation. That doesn't mean the transformation isn't happening. It just means you have a hard time really pinpointing what is happening. So you might be going through all these things and you're having a hard time connecting the lesson to why you're going through everything. So some people, they have that really easy flow of energy, that really easy connection where it's like they go through something and they're like, okay, I went through this so that now I can teach this to others. I went through this so that now I have empathy for this person going through the same thing, or something like that. But when it comes to Pluto Combust in your birth chart, you're going to have a harder time connecting to that. You also might have a harder time connecting to your own psychology, where it's like some people have that really easy flow of energy between what is going on internally and then what is the external symptom of that. You might have a harder time with that. Now, with Pluto under the beams of your birth chart, this is the part where you have a really hard time connecting to that generational lesson of Pluto in that sign. So I'm actually going to use myself as an example for this because I have Pluto under the beams in my birth chart. Again, that's 15 degrees on either side of the sun. I actually have it 10 degrees away from my sun. So when Pluto was in Scorpio, this generation of people started exploring and transforming Scorpio qualities. They started exploring sexuality, all the different ways that that can show up. They started exploring their own psychology. Therapy had this giant boom where it was like so socially accepted and really something that everyone should go through. There was also this deep connection to shadow work where it was like, you know, up until this point, a lot of people are like, I'm fine, I'm a bootstrapper, I'm just gonna pull myself up by my bootstraps and everything's gonna be okay. There is nothing underneath the surface. And then when this generation of people came through, they started being like, no, we have issues, we have trauma, we have things that we have to work through. Let's transform this as a society. So with me having it under the beams in my birth chart, I did have that lesser connection to those issues. I did have that kind of quality of having a harder time connecting to all of those generational cycles that everyone around me was breaking so easily. However, Pluto is also conjunct my ascendant. So I had a lot of those things coming through where Pluto was more personalized to me and less of that generational cycle breaking connection as everybody else. So I hope this makes sense. Please let me know if you guys have any examples of your own chart or your own experiences. I really appreciate everybody pitching in with these because I know they not only help me learn, but they help anyone reading the comments learn as well. So you guys take care. I will see you next time.